Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. I am Brian, and in today's episode I'm going to be demonstrating and reviewing this brand new, very large lithium iron phosphate power station from DaranEner and give you an idea if it's something worth purchasing. This DaranEner NEO2000 is a 2073 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery station with a 2000 watt pure sine inverter. It comes in at $14.99, and doing a little bit of math, that equates to around 72 cents per watt hour. You're going to get 3,500 charge-discharge cycles to 80%, and this thing comes in at 56 pounds. And the kicker is, which is fantastic, DaranEner also offers a 5-year warranty on this thing. So what are you going to get with this unit, and what are its capabilities? So let's dive in and take a little bit closer look at all the outputs and input ports that this battery station offers. So behind this little dust flap that they have, there's going to be all of your inputs to charge this unit. And up here you're going to have your AC charging input, which is rated at 1600 watts worth of charging juice. And it does have a reset switch in the event that you ever do overexert this power station and trip this little breaker. You can come back in here and just tap that and reset the whole unit. And then down at the bottom you've got your XT60 input, which is rated at 33 to 60 volts or up to 600 watts worth of solar power. And then coming over here to your DC side of this power station, you're going to get 4 USB-A Quick Charge 3.0 outputs, as well as 2 Power Delivery 100 watt Type-C outputs. So on this side, you're going to get your 12 volt cigarette style car socket, which is rated at 120 watts, as well as 4 5521 barrel outputs. And then up top, you're going to get 3 AC outputs, all covered up by this little dust-proof flap. And each one of these AC outputs is going to give you up to 2,000 watts worth of pure sine energy with a 3,000 watt surge capability. And up top, you've got a 10 watt wireless charging pad. And moving around to the back, it comes equipped with a 3 watt LED with multiple options. And you're going to have a very good information display. So this is going to give you a battery gauge with a percentage meter. It's going to give you input and output wattage, runtime to empty, just multitude of other icons that will eventually pop up and show up on the screen when this battery station detects it. So that's the broad overview of this power station. It's got a lot of really good features on it. It's built like a tank. But let's scoot into the testing period so I can show you some of the tests that I ran on this unit and give you the numbers that I got. So what everyone wants to know is exactly how much are you going to be able to pull out of these battery packs. So to do that, I hooked up my DC capacity tester, I charged this thing to 100%, and I ran this unit at about 10 amps until it was completely empty. The final result was I was able to pull out of this battery station 1,884 watt hours, which equates to 91% efficient. So anything over 90% is great. Most power stations are around 82 to 86% efficient. So I can say that these obviously have some high quality lithium iron cells in here. And I also wanted to check out the parasitic drain or vampire power or whatever you want to call it. But the inverters in these units actually use watts even when you don't have anything plugged into it. So I wanted to see how efficient the inverter was. I charged it back up to 100%. I turned the inverter on and I did not plug anything to it, and I left it for 8 hours. When I came back, I was down to 82%. So that means that this inverter uses approximately 2.3% per hour. That's a little bit on the high side in terms of inverter efficiency. This cut off after 8 hours because I did not realize this has a function where you can disable the DC and the AC features of this battery station. So this could have ran for 16 hours, however it cut off after 8. To shut off the automatic cutoff feature, you have to press and hold the LED light button and the DC button up front for about 3 seconds. When you do that, it disables the hibernation mode of what they're calling it on this unit. If you do not disable that and you keep hibernation mode on, the DC side of this battery station will shut down after 3 minutes if it does not detect any power. It's a very short period of time, so my recommendation is if you do look into getting this unit, definitely turn off the hibernation mode. Now this thing can charge at up to 1600 watts via the AC wall outlet. Now the 1600 watts worth of juice will charge this thing up to 80% in like 1.4 hours. To get from 0 to 100%, you're looking at about a 1.8 hour charge time. Now with solar panels, it's going to vary based on your area, conditions, weather, all that good stuff. But at 600 watts max, in reality, you might get 400 watts. It's probably going to take you between 4 to 10 hours to charge this thing fully. Again, depending solely on your conditions at the time you're trying to charge it. So at 1600 watts worth of charging, I wanted to see how loud this thing was. And all I'm gonna say is, I don't know how DaranEner did it, but it is basically whisper quiet when charging. So to show that to you, here this thing is charging at 1200 watts. And I pulled up my decibel meter on my phone and I was about 3 feet away and I was getting 39 to 40 decibels. The fans are not loud at all. There's some kind of sorcery they have going on in here, but honestly, you could probably sleep right next to this thing while it's charging because it was that quiet. So now let's check the inverter and make sure that it can power up to 2000 watts in case you need this to run, say, a large power tool or maybe run a refrigerator or kickstart an air conditioning unit, but let's make sure this thing works properly. So let's turn on this heat gun first, and this will get us around 1400 watts. Okay, we're about 1300 watts. So let's plug in this incandescent light bulb array. It's getting us up to 1530 watts. Now we got a 500 watt space heater. That's got us to almost 1900 watts. So this is steadily pulling right at 1900 watts. No issues at all. And running 450 watts, we are getting 111.9 volts, so almost 112 volts. So not the full 120 volts, but most of these power stations are rated at 110 volts. And that's what I like to see, a perfect, clean, pure sine wave. Now this thing is UPS capable too. It is not a pro grade UPS, so I wouldn't recommend hooking up a server rack or a computer to it, but it will function on 99% of your other appliances as a backup power source if your grid runs down and you have an appliance hooked up to it. To show you how fast it switches over, I'm going to simulate a power outage by unplugging this, and you should be able to see the lights flicker just very briefly, and that's due because the power station right now is currently using my home grid power because it's bypassing these batteries. As soon as I unplug this, it's going to switch over to the internal lithium iron phosphate batteries. So in 3, 2, 1. And that's how fast it switches over. So with that testing, I can tell you honestly that this thing is above average compared to all my other power stations that I have reviewed in the past. The efficiency rating is fantastic. The 2000 watt inverter works without a flaw. The energy is very clean at over 110 volts with a pure sine wave. There's just a lot of good things going for this, and at 72 cents a watt hour, it's a very good deal for a large power station. Now everybody wants to know, what's the bad things about it, and it does not have an app. I know that's kind of a bougie thing to want in this day and age because 2 years ago most power stations didn't have apps. However, most new ones do have an app that you can control remotely or view the status of the battery via your phone, which is handy. But this does not have an app, so that's a way to cut costs down on this unit. And it doesn't have an input-output power delivery. I'm okay with that because this thing can charge it up to 1600 watts with 600 watts of solar added onto that. I don't really care if I can't plug in a USB-C and charge it by 100 watts. I don't think that's a big deal at all, but the USB-Cs are output only. But other than that, I really cannot find anything else wrong with this unit. So I've got to give this a thumbs up. You do provide in the box your AC charging cord, and you're going to get your XT60 to MC4 solar cable connection, as well as a Type-C cable to utilize these power delivery 100 watt output ports. And also, DaranEner does have a smaller version in terms of a 300 watt lithium iron phosphate battery station. And this is kind of a bare bones, very lightweight, almost throw in your backpack size power station if you're gonna be tent camping or whatever. But again, lithium iron phosphate cells, a power delivery output port, a quick charge port, a car socket, and one AC outlet. So a very minimal design, but again, 300 watt hours worth of lithium iron phosphate in this little guy. But for this big one, again, folks, I've got to give it my thumbs up on it because I can't find anything wrong with it, and it passed all the testing with flying colors. And I'm just overall pretty pleased with this little unit. So if you want to see me use this out in the wild, I will be using this on my next week camping trip, and I will be powering a water kettle, a blender, and probably a 12 volt heated blanket because I won't have any access to any type of electrical hookup. So this will be going along with me, and I'll put a link to my main channel down below if you want to check out how this acts out in a real world situation. But other than that, folks, this is the DaranEner NEO2000 power station review. So go check it out. Links will be down below. And hope you enjoyed. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.